With what cap space? That's always going to be the idea that pops up. Don't worry, I'm not that stupid. But I saw this article the other day, and I wanted to really give it some thought. Because when it comes to this player that we're going to be talking about, he's a guy that I have some sort of a personal affinity towards because I did have him on my fantasy team and he was very good for me. I also wanted to go out there and talk about the idea of him potentially being a Vancouver Canucks target. Now, this video is being recorded on the night of Friday, August 23rd, so if there is some sort of a trade between the time I'm talking into this microphone and the time the video is public on YouTube, then we're going to have to change things up. I got plans Saturday morning, and yeah, we're going to have to pre-record the show a bit earlier for me to live my life properly. Let's go out there and read this article, though, that was published on August 19th by Philippe Gosselin. This is on CanucksDaily.com, and what Gosselin writes about is the potential perfect player for the Vancouver Canucks. Patrick Allvin has some work to do. Now, I'll get into some context as to what this is actually insinuating here. Pretty much, this article opens up with the idea of the Vancouver Canucks potentially adding to their defense core. You see, heading into the season, a lot of people were kind of wary. Okay, they added some guys. They added Desharnais. They added Forbort. Nice. They re-signed Friedman. They still have Juleson. Nice. But they also re-signed Tyler Myers. And you could say that the Tyler Myers extension, 3 years long, $3 million per, you could debate that this is like the only overpay, quote-unquote, that Patrick Allvin handed out to one of his players that he had signed. I think for most of the other contracts, there have been mostly positive responses to them, but it's the Tyler Myers deal, and I guess you could say it's the Desharnais deal as well, because he got $2 million. There are some people going out there and contending that some of these contracts are a little bit too either long or a little bit too beefy, because you could debate the caliber of talent might not be there to justify it. But either way, when you think about the Canucks D-core, you talk about Hughes, Hronek, Myers, Soucy, Desharnais, Forbort, and then everybody else. This is a team that has a pretty stable core on defense. I say stable, not really good, but stable. If you wanted to say good and deep and actually projectable to having good results, you'd say the forward core is really good. The Canucks' forward core is so much better now than it was at this point a year ago. The defense, you could say, is maybe the same or maybe just a tad worse. Depends on how you view Ian Cole, depends on how you view the other guys that are in and out here as well. So, if you wanted to say the Vancouver Canucks have the capacity to maybe add on another defenseman sometime in this 24-25 season, like they did with Nikita Zadorov, then there could be some sort of an option here that makes sense if you wanted to talk about other guys that could be brought onto the team. This is where we go over onto our Canucks Daily article. I wanted to go out there and read what the writer here, Philippe Gosselin, goes out there and describes as the perfect player. Tom Willander will most likely be the man to fill that right-handed void in the future, but given the fact that he'll be playing collegiate hockey again this year, counting on him to fix the Canucks defense is not an option. With that in mind, Patrick Allvin will likely be looking for a capable defender, a veteran guy who can eat minutes and hold his own better than average. That's where the Seattle Kraken's veteran defenseman Adam Larsson comes into play. Entering the last year of his contract that earns him an AAV of $4 million, he'd be an easy player to fit into the Canucks payroll, and his acquisition shouldn't be enormous given the circumstances. He's a defensively reliable, right-handed shot defenseman known for his strong physical presence and shot-blocking abilities. He plays a key role in shutting down opposing teams' top players, often battling the best forwards in the league. Larsson is adept at using his size and strength to win battles along the boards and clear the crease before his goaltender. Although not known for his offensive contributions, Larsson's ability to break up plays and make bright, simple passes out of the defensive zone make him a valuable asset on the blue line. His leadership qualities and experience add further value to his team's D-core. And that's it. That's all the article goes out there and says. It just says, hey, here's a guy that's good. Maybe the Canucks could get him. And while I don't necessarily like to focus on articles that are just straight up, here's an idea that I think is cool and why you should listen to it, I do like Adam Larsson, the player, enough to go out there and dive into this. I think I annoyed everybody last year by talking about my fantasy team every 2 videos or so, but my fantasy league last year, my primary one, was with John from Hot Take Hockey, all the other hockey YouTubers, we were in it together, and for some reason John put the point distribution on our fantasy league to a very strange place. He had goals worth 2 points, assists worth 1 point, and then hits were worth 0.5 points, and a block was worth 1 point. So 1 block was as valuable as an assist, and 2 blocks, 3, 4, 5 blocks on a penalty kill would be more valuable than a guy that scored like 2 goals on the night. It was kind of crazy, and as a result, you had all defense leading the league in most categories. The actual best forward, I think, was JT Miller, which is great because I had him on my team. Of course I did, but with this distribution of points enabled in my fantasy league, it made my Twin Towers pairing of Jamie Oleksiak and Adam Larsson on the Seattle Kraken absolute money. Anytime the Kraken would have a game, I didn't even need Eeli Tolvanen or Jaden Schwartz or anybody else to score points. I just had to play Adam Larsson and play Jamie Oleksiak. They'd get 2, 3, 4 blocks a game and maybe 2, 3, 4 hits a game, and I'd be chilling. They'd be playing so much in the Kraken games. They'd be relied upon so much, and the Kraken weren't too great, so a lot of these plays were in their own zone. They'd be blocking shots and dishing out hits. It was very beneficial for me. As a result, I personally got an upfront and direct feed into the mindset and taking a look at what it was Adam Larsson did to make his NHL play effective. And for a guy who's 31 years old and the last year of a $4 million AAV deal, I personally am a believer in the 6'3" right-handed defenseman so much that I'm saying if the Canucks went out there and targeted this guy, I would absolutely be on board with that. If there's salary retained and the Canucks have to maybe shell away a pick or something, another prospect or whatever that isn't really all too great, then hey, I like that. Get Adam Larsson on for a year. Sure, they maybe overpaid a tad for Nikita Zadorov, maybe for Elias Lindholm. They got those rentals, they utilized them, and then they performed in the playoffs. Adam Larsson might be able to do similar things. Who really knows? It may be early to try to start identifying guys that could be free agents next offseason and try to target them in trades, but you can never go wrong with a big, sturdy right-handed defenseman who's physical, a guy who knows how to block shots, a guy who can defend well, who can penalty kill well, who is very utilized in Seattle on a bad team, and who is still able to produce 18 points in 81 games on top of that. Now, he had 33 points in 82 games the year before when the Kraken were really good. That's when the Kraken beat out the Colorado Avalanche in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. But Adam Larsson was a multi-time 20-plus point guy before this recent season in Seattle, where everything kind of went wrong, and he was more so of a defensive guy because he needed to be. This is a really strong hockey player, and I like him a lot, so I wanted to go out there and turn some attention to that idea. Of course, though, the Canucks do not have $4 million in extra remaining cap space to make things work right now. They'd have to finagle some stuff, they'd have to maybe trade somebody else, trade away a contract. I'm thinking about it like this. If the Canucks are able to make some sort of a Larsson trade without touching any of the other 5 defensemen, let's say they keep Hughes, they keep Hronek, they keep Soucy, Myers, and they keep Forbort. If you have Vinny Desharnais bouncing in and out of the lineup as an extra, I actually do believe more so in Desharnais than I do Noah Juulsen. Desharnais also struggles when he plays a lot more, so I'd say if you limit his minutes, you limit the games that he plays, you give him maybe every second game or so, you have Adam Larsson rotating around there, maybe even with Tyler Myers in the middle 4 pairing, get that Soucy Larsson Seattle reconnection in there. I think there are some really good options with this, but of course, this is just one guy. There are many other guys that you could go out there and talk about, many other guys you could write articles about as well. This is just one guy from one article that I happen to like a lot, which is why I wanted to go out there and make this video here today. If you are a Seattle Kraken fan, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about the idea of Adam Larsson potentially getting traded from your team to somewhere else? His contract is expiring, so you kind of have to think about this as well. If he signs a contract extension before this video is public on YouTube, then okay, like, I'll take the L on that one. But if it is a Larsson trade, what are your thoughts on the return? What do you think you should be able to receive for a guy like this? Big, solid, sturdy right-handed defenseman, defensive beast who can make a breakout pass or two. He's a very good player in my opinion. Certainly not like first overall Taylor Hall trade worthy like he was maybe a few years ago. In fact, I don't even really think he was ever that worthy. It's just that the Edmonton Oilers overpaid for him. But let me know your thoughts in the comments as to what you think a Larsson trade could look like right now. If you're a Canucks fan, how do you feel about this player, and do you think he could be the guy? Could he be the target that makes things work on Vancouver's D-core? Adding a guy like Larsson to stabilize everybody else, I think, makes this D-core as good as it was at the start of the playoffs this previous year. But that's just my opinion. If you disagree, let me know in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.